Hello everybody, it's old Shazziz here out here in my mad science laboratory. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, and all that jazz. Hope y'all doing well out there, and hope Cultus is getting a good nap. He said he was out there for like 8.5 and some odd hours or more. Anyway, I'm happier than a rabbit in the strawberry patch. So I'm working on my wife. I'm building her a new house across the way here to, I can look out the window and see where the new house is going to be, but I'm actually getting to make my lab a lot bigger. So I'm taking the old dump and I'm turning it into my mad science lab so that I'll have lots of room, and then I'll be moving something indoors that has been sitting outdoors for over 100 years. Nope, I'm not going to tell you what it is just yet. But that's one of them nifty little things that I got to share with everybody here pretty soon. And I'm working on a lot of different designs and inventions and ideas and reviving some old technology and all that kind of jazz. But I hope you stay tuned to my YouTube channel there, because it's going to get pretty doggone exciting in a real hurry. So I've had a lot of people in and out of my lab in the last month or two, people coming in to see what I'm working on, and a lot of jaws hitting the floor, and they're like, dude, how's that possible, My favorite person that I got coming over is my buddy Jim. He's something else. He'll sit there and argue with me about the laws of physics and the second law of thermodynamics and so on and so forth, and mathematical equations and this and that, and the man is extremely smart. I love Jim to pieces. He's cool as heck, but sometimes, he's got one foot in the box and he's got one foot out the box, and it drives me insane, and I drive him insane because I try to put electricity in the simple, and I'm trying to tell him something, and he's getting all mad because he's like, you're oversimplifying it, But electricity is simple. All you got to do is think about the way that nature works, and nature will tell you how to do things. All you got to do is pay attention. I mean, if you watch outside during a lightning storm and you see the amazing amount of power that is generated during a thunderstorm or lightning storm or whatever, tornadoes, hurricanes, typhoons, tidal waves, you name it, any kind of adverse weather condition that you can possibly think about, and then you look at that amazing amount of power and you know that nature's in charge. Nature will kick us off like a bad set of fleas if we get out of line. So with that said, if you can't find free energy, you're simply not looking hard enough for it. I've been running this experiment with an earth battery. Essentially, I've got a galvanized ground rod down in the ground, and I've got a copper-coated ground rod in the ground. And I look over here and I flip the switch, and for over a month it's been at 0.70 volts, and that's just in the dirt. That's just out of the dirt alone. And these things aren't more than probably 3 feet apart. Now, in the best case scenario, you want to put them anywhere from 6 to even 30 feet apart. And you can get energy out of the dirt. I know folks have got as much as 30 volts out of 2 poles down in the dirt. And then when it rains, you get a chemistry going on there. Some people call it galvanization is what they call it whenever you put a copper-coated ground rod and a galvanized ground rod down in there and it produces electricity. But the key word is it produces electricity. You can get electricity out of the wind, you can get electricity out of the air, you can get electricity out of just about everything under the sun, because everything under the sun is energy. We've been talking about this for as long as I've been doing my radio show. So I'm trying to point out the simple of everything. And my buddy, he comes over every once in a while, and he's trying to use a bunch of high-tech terminology, and He's trying to do all kinds of mathematical equations because it has to make sense mathematically in his head in order to make sense, I guess. Which is good, you know, I guess, because I'm not a math whiz. I don't like math, you know. I just do it, you know. I see it mechanically in my head, and I make it, and it works. And so when he's over here and I show him some things, and sometimes it gets me a little ticked off, and I get him a little ticked off, and then I show him some things, and his jaw drops to the floor, and he's like, you know, that just ain't supposed to happen. It's not supposed to work. I don't know how you're doing that. I'm going to have to bring my oscilloscope over. I'm going to have to make a bunch of measurements and try to figure out what's going on here. You know, they call it 0-point energy. They call it over unity. They call it everything under the sun. But why don't they just call it what it is? It's simple. It's nature. Nature is power. You are pure energy. If you only could realize how much power that you as an individual have, I'm telling you folks, if you begin to realize how much power that you're capable of, you're going to freak. You underestimate yourself because you've been indoctrinated into a world that tells you that you can't do this, you can't do that. There's rules, there's regulations, there's laws, there's all kinds of brick walls in front of you that says that you have to follow this particular path in order to get where it is that you want to go. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm just no redneck out in the sticks. If I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. The rest of that crap, the laws of physics and all the damn rules and regulations that use to tie people down from their true creativity, their true power, is all a hock-a-hooey. It's a load of crap. So, with that said, don't ever underestimate yourself. I don't give a damn if you got big ears, a big nose, a funny head, or maybe you got an afro the size of Texas. I don't care. Do not ever underestimate yourself. You need to think about the power of positive thinking. You need to think about what it is to be you. You are more powerful than you can possibly imagine. The power of just the spoken word alone. You can bring upon yourself enough negativity to make your life the most miserable life in the world, or you can bring upon yourself the most positive energy that will bring about the best life that you could ever possibly dream about. You got the power of the pen, the power of the spoken word, and so it's time. It's time for each and every one of you to stand up and take your world. This world belongs to you. It belongs to all of us. It's time to stand up and tell the corporate elite of the world and the governments and the ignorant bastards that are getting us into wars and all the craziness that goes on in this world, it's time to kick them to the curb. Because I don't want to live in a world that they've created that tells me that I can't do this and I can't do that. I want to live in a world of freedom and sovereignty. I want to live in a world where I'm able to reach my fullest potential, my maximum. And I believe that you want to live in that same world. But it's the rules, it's the regulations, it's all the craziness of the world that continuously beats people down into submission. And eventually somebody thinks that they're so worthless. The little girl who thinks she's too fat to fit into society. The little boy who thinks he looks too funny to be popular. Screw that. We need to uplift our nerds. We need to uplift our geeks. We need to uplift each other. We need to start using the talents and the creativity that we have at our disposal. And as far as resources, this world has provided vast amounts of resources. This world is not overpopulated, and anybody out there who talks about exponential growth and this and that, and we're going to all die because we ain't going to have enough food to feed everybody, they're so stupid they can't even see straight. Because I'm here to tell you, this world is tougher than we will ever be. This world was set up just so that we would have the opportunity to do amazing things. The world is one massive thermal electric generator of epic proportions. It has more resources than we could ever use in 1 trillion lifetimes. And for those out there that disagree, I'm sorry, we're just going to have to agree to disagree, because brothers and sisters of the world, I'm telling you, I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. I've seen 2 destiny paths that we can go down. We can go down the one we're going down now, where we literally eventually obliterate the world and wipe out each other and annihilate everything that humanity could and has accomplished. Or we can go down the next destiny path where we all start putting our power together. You know, it's like one AA battery. It's 1.5 volts of electricity. You add 2 of those together, and now you're up to 3 volts of electricity. Imagine what we could do if we added all the energy of the world, each and every one of us. Let me scroll up here and see how many people's actually in the chat room. There's 22 people in this chat room. Count every single one of them as 1.5 volts of electricity and come back with me a number. We need to get more people in this chat room here at MSI Radio. We need to get more people listening to this radio show. We need to get more people listening to Mike's radio show and all the other radio shows here on MSI and Awake Radio and We Roar Radio and all the different networks that rebroadcast. We need to get all these people of the world gathered together to unite their power for a common cause of making this world a better place. Think about the numbers. Think about the power at our disposal. If we put our brilliant minds together, if I put my talents with Simply Steve's talents or Mahatma Coach's talents or Magoo or Mike and Shart, you know, we put all of our talents together and we do these things that we know are possible. They tried to make Nikola Tesla out to be a dumbass. They tried to make him out to be a madman. They tried to just discredit him all to hell. They tried and tried and tried to make him look bad, and they still do it. They do it on the Discovery Channel, and they do it on the Science Channel as well. But yet every single one of you out there are using Tesla technology. Every single one of you out there is using a bit of that man's mind. And so what I intend on doing is vindicating Nikola Tesla. What I intend on doing is showing the world what it is that he was truly working on. And believe me, brothers and sisters, when I tell you, I know exactly what he was working on, because it's the same thing I'm working on. Do not ever underestimate yourself. Don't ever look down upon yourself. You need to take and look inside your soul, look inside your heart. You know what your heart is capable of doing. And you truly know, even though you may not want to admit it, you truly know how powerful you are. Now, you can walk down the road and you can say some pretty nasty things to a lot of people, strangers and friends alike. And you can destroy their day, maybe even destroy their life. But that's not what in your heart you truly want. Now, I work out here in my mad science laboratory, and I'm trying to find solutions to problems that we already know exist in the world. I already know the answer to the question that we all seek. I already know the answer. But to explain it to every single individual out there in a manner in which that they can understand and know exactly that they can duplicate at the same time is the tricky part. Finding things directly off the store shelves, or things that you can pull out of your scrap piles or your dumps or your junks or your recycling centers that can put a piece of machinery together that will do what it is that you need to do in order to energize your house where you can stop paying the man. That's the tricky part. Anybody can build a generator. I've proven that. You can build a generator out of junk. Just flat out junk. And so if you gather up this knowledge on how to make mini generators using coils of wire and magnets and stuff like that, and if you understand that all you have to do is be able to get electrons to be excited and, bounce the electrons around, you can produce energy. You can tap into the energy that is the earth. Once you've got that in your head, then you can understand what Tesla was trying to tell everybody. Go outside the next time it's storming outside and look and watch and feel what's going on around you. Right about before the time a lightning bolt gets ready to hit, and you're going to feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And you're going to know that somewhere within a 5, 10, 15-mile radius that there's going to be a lightning bolt. Because it's energizing. It's all being ionized right in between you and that lightning bolt. And hopefully you're not standing at the spot where it hits. So I know a few people's been down that road, and they tell me it's not too much fun. But regardless of all that, that's neither here nor there. I'm trying to open up people's minds. I'm trying to get people to think outside the box. I've been under attack for so many years, ever since I started my YouTube channel and I started trying to show people things. I've been under attack for just about everything under the sun. Folks out there that just are so stuck in the box they just can't understand. They think that they've got it all figured out. But I'm here to say they don't. They don't have it all figured out. Otherwise, they'd be talking just like I am. They'd be on some network and they'd be saying exactly what it is that I'm saying. And they would understand what it was that Tesla was working on. I'm going to vindicate his name. Mark my words. And before I die, I guarantee you, I'm going to leave to this world enough information to give free energy to the world. That's my ultimate goal. Because as long as you're underneath the thumb of some sort of power company or whatever, as long as you have to be beholden to the man, you can't never truly be free. Everybody out there wants free energy. I'm telling you how to get it. You can use solar. That's free energy. Of course it's going to cost you a little bit for the equipment to get it started. But think about the long term. Don't think about what it's going to cost you right out of the gate. And don't start off giant. Start off small. Go out and buy you a small solar kit and work your way up a little bit at a time. Take one light bulb off the power grid at a time. For every light bulb you take off the power grid, you got another $1 in your pocket. Another yen or another euro or whatever it is that you use to spend to pay your power bill. Get you some batteries and start storing power. Storing power like you do money in your piggy bank. Because essentially that's what it is. Electricity, you can store it. Think about that. I'm talking about free energy. And I'm talking about basically saving up, having a savings account of free energy. How is that possible? Look at the capacitor technology. Look at the battery technology. Lithium ions, boost caps. There's so many different ultra capacitors coming on the market these days. Grab them while you can. And pop up you some wind generators or some hydroelectrics. Some of you live in windy places. Some of you live in rainy places. Some of you live in sunny places. If you're in the middle of the freaking desert, turn an old car tire into a thermoelectric battery, for Pete's sake. Nature has provided all the energy that you can possibly use. And so with that said, use it. If you can't find free electricity, you're simply not looking hard enough for it. So, old Shazziz sitting out in his mad science laboratory. He's talking a lot of big talks. Keep an eye on my YouTube channel. Because pretty soon you're going to see something real cool. I got a lot of projects. I got a lot of irons in the fire, but believe me, I'm on it. And you can be on it too. We're going to get the virtual labs thing going there. And when we do, we're going to have brilliant minds from all over the world. And we're going to be able to work on things real time. And you're going to be able to stop in and you're going to be able to actually watch the work being done. You're going to be able to watch the discoveries being made real time. I've wanted this forever and a day to try to get everyone together so that you can see what's going on. You can see the anomalies in my laboratory as I'm going through frequencies and so on down the line. You can see all the other people out there, occultists' experiments and RWG research, Russ. You'll be able to see it real time. And that's what we're up to do. We're up to get everybody, all the brilliant minds from around the world, and we're going to put them in a virtual lab setup to where we can sit there and we can do things together, solve problems. And if you're not into the science or whatever, if you don't think that you're good enough with electricity, you might be the best cook in the world. Start up a virtual lab for cooking. Start up a virtual lab for medicine. Start up a virtual lab for everything under the sun, because the key here is to bring all the brilliant minds of the world together. I'm going to throw on a quick little deal right here. This guy right here, he's working on water spark plugs that actually run off of lasers. And I think it's just worth listening to. So I'm going to fire it up.
My name is Daniel Green, and I've got a website called MrGreenEnergy.com. I also have a Facebook page here called Run Your Car 100% on Water. And here there's tons of information that illustrates how several inventors here in the past have been able to disassociate the water molecule for its hydrogen content and use that on board the vehicle to propel the car. So we simply believe that it's a lot easier to extract hydrogen from water instead of oil. It's traditionally thought that it takes more energy to disassociate water than you can get on the back end. Well, as compared to what? If you fairly add up the amount of energy it takes to find oil, drill for it, refine it, and ship it across the planet without spilling any, that's going to spoil our environment. It's really a no-brainer that we should be acquiescing to technology that's a lot cleaner and safer for our environment. For instance, here, like over 30 years ago, Jack Nicholson was part of a company that split water with solar energy and used that to fuel vehicles.
Wouldn't it be great if someone came up with a cheaper fuel of limitless supply? Well, in California, some businessmen claim they have. Let's hear this story. One of the people with money in it is pretty well known to most people.
It's Jack Nicholson, all right. And the car he's driving is unique. It's a standard Chev with a standard engine, but what makes it unique is there is no gasoline in the car. It's running on hydrogen, and the hydrogen was...
Gasoline is essentially a hydrocarbon. We're already using hydrogen as fuel, so our point is to extract that from water. Here's another gentleman that was able to run a vehicle completely off water. Here's his name right here. I can't pronounce it, but there's plenty of information out there that tells us that this is a viable alternative. Here some studies were done in Malaysia, and it says that using a harmonic wavelength of 808 nanometers within a laser, the hydrogen and oxygen yields were found to be greater than the normal Faradaic efficiency. Now what this means is they were able to split water and have more gain on the back end. They're breaking the laws of thermodynamics here, and it's been done by several people. Here's some people talking about ditching the traditional spark plugs and using lasers to ignite the fuel air mixtures. Here's a spark plug company. If I can get to it over here. These guys are getting ready. Oh, it's not ready yet. Anyhow, these guys are getting ready to start selling laser spark plugs. So let's check it out.
I know, you're thinking, lasers? Really? But in today's world, they're already in use on large stationary engines in industrial settings. Most of these engines are fueled with natural gas. Natural gas fuel has ignition challenges related to conventional spark ignitions. Natural gas requires more spark energy to ignite the air-fuel mixture. This results in much shorter spark plug life. Laser ignition systems are being developed right now by many automakers. As you saw in Module 1, with many engines transitioning to direct fuel injection, real estate in the combustion chamber is becoming scarce. The current crop of spark plugs is just too big, and that takes up too much of that valuable space. This is what's driving the development of plugs like the Autolite Revolution HT series, as well as 12mm and even 10mm conventional spark plugs. The need for combustion chamber space for direct injection, multiple valves, and leaner air-fuel ratios are prompting automakers to look for ways to improve ignition. Conventional ignitions have difficulty igniting these ultra-lean air-fuel ratios. A standard spark plug ground electrode of today can quench the spark enough in a lean burn engine to cause misfires. However, a laser ignition can be delivered through thin fiber optic cables to the combustion chamber. A laser spark plug of tomorrow may be a device connected to these thin fiber optic cables that uses mirrors to focus the ignition points to different areas of the combustion chamber. The result is a more complete burn with fewer or no misfires. Another very tangible benefit of a laser-based ignition is its ability to fire different types of biofuels. With constant research,
Biofuels, as is HHO made from water. In this little advertisement they mentioned that lasers work better with natural gas. Well, a natural gas ignition is very, very similar to hydrogen. So I see an opportunity here to combine existing hydrogen gas injector fuel cell technology with these laser ignition systems. This picture here in the middle here is a set of Stanley Meyer hydrogen gas injector fuel cells. Here's one on the right here as well. Essentially, this fitting right here, if you see my arrow, that is where the water hooks up. So when you turn your ignition on, you're priming this electrolysis device with water. So you're creating the fuel within the spark plug, and then using a laser to ignite the ionized HHO mixture. Here's another it's a pretty simple drawing of the mechanics of how it works. Here's another picture of a three-prong laser spark plug. So here's some pretty good illustrations of what we're trying to do here, and that is create spark plugs that turn water into fuel on demand to propel the vehicle. And I would be stoked if you had a set of these. I would be stoked if everybody had a set of these. So why don't you check out our Facebook page. I can find it here. It's Run Your Car 100% on Water, and check out our website, MrGreenEnergy.com. You'll see here that there's a lot of information that shows that we can run our cars on pure water right now. In fact, I asked a group here, over 127 people are 100% positive that cars can run on pure water because they look at the information provided here. And look, I'm just an average guy like everybody else, but if you're curious about my experience, close already. If you're curious about my experience into this, here's a picture of my van that was operating with a solar-powered hydrogen cell about 5 years ago. Anyhow, this was my first attempt at making one of these videos. I hope I get better at it in the future.
You're listening to the Shazziz Man Happy Hour, where even you can have a good time. Scatter zoom! Penny hot toddies want to party with Shazziz Man?
Well, you know, if I was to sit here and say that you could charge any battery with a birthday candle, you'd call me crazy and say, prove it, Shazziz. If I sat there and I said that you could charge any battery with light, you would say, prove it, Shazziz. Well, if I was to sit here and say that the photons coming from any light source under the sun, using a bit of fiber optics, you could get a battery to recharge itself in any lighting scenario, you'd say, prove it, shazziz. Well, I might just have to do that. I might just have to show you how much energy is just in light alone. A lot of energy surrounds you. You're surrounded in a sea of energy. And there's so many different ways by which you can actually tap into that sea of energy. You know, about the only law of physics that I can even basically essentially try to agree with is the law of conservation of energy that says energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So what's that tell you? If energy can neither be created nor can it be destroyed, does that mean that our energy, which is us, have been around since the dawn of time? Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? But anyway, there's some technology out there going around about basically charging batteries with light alone. Not via a solar panel. Literally shining light through the battery itself in order to charge the battery. It's essentially bombarding the chemistry inside the battery with photons of light. It doesn't matter whether it comes from an LED or a candle or any source whatsoever. Light is energy. Light is heat. And so with that said, all you got to do is get the electrons excited, and then you got energy, you got current, you got electricity. So I've showed everybody how to make a wind turbine out of something as simple as a 2-liter bottle and some hard drive magnets and a little hard drive disk. Got the old redneck wind turbine made out of a 50-gallon barrel and a couple bicycle wheels. And as far as generating electricity with it, it's as simple as sticking some magnets to the rims of the bicycle rims and putting your coils in there. And then you have electricity. Simply Steve says, light is a waveform too, shazziz. Hey, Steve, why don't you call in, man? It's about time my wingman showed up. Anyway, what I'm trying to tell everybody out there, or I've been trying to tell everybody forever and a day, is do not ever underestimate yourself. The things that you are capable of are beyond your wildest imagination. You think that, the system has you under the boot, so to speak. You think that the system keeps you down. The only thing in this world that keeps we the people down is we the people, because we allow others, our supposed representatives of the world. Ooh, we got Simply Steve calling in. Hey, brother, how you doing?
Hey, shazziz, how you doing, mate?
Pretty good. So what do you think of this subject that I'm just now talking about?
Well, I've sent you a little picture there in Skype of the underneath of my mad science lab.
Cool.
Last week, I dug out 7 tons of topsoil.
7 tons?
Yeah, I had a full-size builder's skip round and filled it full of all the junk I had in the garden, but mostly topsoil. Because I've been thinking a lot about batteries, or ground batteries. And the little experiment you've done with the poles 3 feet apart put me onto a good idea. Because I've been doing a lot of study recently on conditioning soil to enhance plant growth. Now, I mentioned this last year on Pondy's show. There's a thing called exchange capacity, or EC, that a lot of people that get into hydroponic gardening would measure. But that exchange capacity is also electrical capacity.
Oh, yeah. Did you know that nature always tries to balance out energy? So if you have a capacitor of a smaller capacity and a capacitor of a larger capacity, when you fill one of those capacitors, it wants to balance itself out with the other one?
Well, think of this. I'm just going to read a little bit of a link that I put in earlier. I'll drop it in again because I think this is something that people are seriously overlooking. Now, in most soils, you have anions and cations, or cations. One is a positive charge and one is a negative charge. Sulfur and phosphorus are negatively charged atoms, and things like calcium is a positively charged, and magnesium is positively charged. So I have a very heavy clay soil, which is a bit rough to dig out, but it does contain a lot of electrical energy because of all the various minerals and everything in it. Now, instead of just putting one pole, say 8 feet apart, two poles 8 feet apart and connected, why not put as many in as I can fit in under that shed and hook it up to a capacitor?
There you go. No problem. That's what, you know, I'm trying to explain to everybody, everything under the sun is energy. Even your coffee cup. If you could look at your coffee cup under an extreme microscope, you would see that it's not just sitting there.
No.
Everything has electrons, protons, and neutrons. And some people even argue with the electron theory. Some people argue with all kinds of theories. But what I'm trying to tell everybody is if it's sitting in front of you, it's energy.
Yeah, sorry, one of our buddies that was listening in there asked me to send him that link. Yeah, I mean, why aren't we trying to harness this electricity? I mean, I've looked at, you know, paying an electrician to put mains power out to me garden shed, and the price he gave me was ridiculous, and I thought, I'm not stupid, I can find a better way.
Well, what you ought to do is build you a nice little nifty battery bank, disguise it as anything under the sun, heck, make you a concrete park bench set out in your yard with batteries stuffed inside of it. Nobody will ever even know that they're batteries.
Well, the beauty of it is because I've got a 10-foot by 12-foot shed, what I did is I built a concrete lip around it to rest the shed on, and then it was sitting on mud for the last year, and 2 years, and it was turning everything inside rotten, so I thought I'd better build a cavity underneath it to give it ventilation, because I didn't want a complete slab concrete base, because once that's down, that's a nightmare to take up again, and I don't see the point in covering over perfectly good soil. So the plan is I've got a load of the rebar, steel reinforcement bar, and I'm going to cut that into 8-foot lengths and bang it into the ground. But I'm wondering what would be the best material I could use to pick up a negative charge.
Well, you just need two dissimilar metals in order to get the current flow through there. Like I say, copper-coated ground rods and galvanized ground rods, and then some folks call it galvanization, which actually creates a current in the two dissimilar metals. But either way, it's kind of like everything else, you know, like the thermal batteries or thermal couples and all that kind of stuff right there. Two dissimilar metals, and you put heat to it, and it creates electric and so on down the line. Right now, I've got a few individuals helping me work on a deal where we can actually put a battery together that is see-through. You can see inside the battery, and the purpose for that is that any light, it doesn't matter whether it's halogen or basically fluorescent or sunlight or candlelight, any light produces photons, and those photons energize the chemistry in that battery, which charges it. So you literally have a battery running a light that is basically sending photons back through the battery and energizing the battery itself and causing more electricity. What do you think of that?
That sounds like pretty good stuff to me. A lot of this stuff takes a while for me to sink in, because obviously I'm simple.
Well, think about photons. What do they do?
I have thought about photons. You know, there was a guy that spent 15 years at the bottom of a mine shaft with a still pool of water looking for neutrinos.
What in tarnation for?
Well, to find out if they exist. These are supposed to be light particles that travel faster than the speed of light.
Well, think about this, man. Energy, light is heat, and heat is light, both. Vice versa.
Well, I was just looking for there was one thing that leapt out to me that I was reading earlier. Animals use phosphorus to make bones and teeth and to generate energy in the body's cells. So, if I stick a PVC tube into the ground and then stick one of my contact rods into that and then fill it up full of phosphorus, is that going to give me a boost, do you think? Phosphorus is easy to get.
I think that anything you do to step towards even putting so much as a millivolt into your battery is a positive. I literally went out one night and I had some doggone they were solar powered LED lights, right? And essentially one of them was sitting in the shade and it wasn't getting charged up. I went and I hovered over that thing with my LED flashlight, and I literally charged that thing up until it finally came on using just my flashlight alone.
Well, shazziz, I took 3 of the little 2-inch by 2-inch solar cells off the top of garden lights, soldered them together, linked 3 of them together, and I was getting 3.5 volts output off them underneath the fluorescent strip.
So we're talking about recirculating light, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the batteries charged by a solar panel, and the light that doesn't fall on the plants is falling onto the edges where the solar panels are, and it's putting energy back into the battery.
Hey, Steve. Nature just called it an inopportune time. Would you like to take the reins and raise a ruckus on my show for a few?
I'll give them a reading of the soil test, if you like, and that will go into a bit more detail about anions and cations.
Right on.
I don't know if people are interested in it, but I find it incredibly interesting.
BRB. Be right back.
Right, you are, mate. Right, taking it from the top of a soil test. Exchange capacity is a measure of the cation, pronounced cation, nutrient holding ability of your soil. Cations are positively charged plus ions. Sand has a low exchange capacity. Most clays and organic matter have a high exchange capacity. How much water a soil will hold is a good analogy. This number will range from a low of around about 5 to a high of around 40. Next in line on a soil test, the link is in the chat there, lad, if you want to look at it, is pH. Most of us are familiar with pH. It is a measure of the acidity or alkalinity of your soil. This soil's pH in the particular test there is 5.9, a little too acid for most crops. 6 to 6.5 is ideal. The average pH of water, and I've tested mine and other people's quite a bit, is about 7, which is neutral. It's neither acidic nor alkaline. The third item is the percentage of organic matter in your soil. Many soil scientists say that 4 to 5% organic matter is ideal, but that depends on the climate. In a cool, rainy climate, 10% organic matter may be common. Now, on to anions. Next we come to a couple of anions, sulfur and phosphorus. Anions are negatively charged atoms. They are designated by the minus symbol. Sulfur is important for many of life processes, including formation of protein. Most soils in high rainfall areas are deficient in sulfur, as sulfur is easily leached away in water. Onions, garlic and members of the cabbage family all require a lot of sulfur to grow well. At 13 parts per million, this soil is far too low in sulfur. Large amounts of phosphorus are needed by all living things. Plants use phosphorus to make sugars, animals use phosphorus to make bones, teeth, and to generate energy in the body's cells. An apple or watermelon looks perfect but isn't sweet is likely grown in phosphorus deficient soil. In that particular test, it has a good level of phosphorus. Now, cations. The cation elements are the most critical nutrients for a healthy soil. If they are missing or out of balance, nothing will grow really well. Cations are bases. That means they have a positive charge, and the exchange capacity of your soil is a measure of the amount of cation elements it can hold. Base saturation is a measure of how much of the EC is filled by each element. On this soil test, 64.58% of the exchange capacity is filled by calcium, just about the perfect amount. The critical importance of cation nutrients is poorly understood by many gardeners. A really fertile soil contains more calcium than all of the other mineral nutrients combined. A soil with the right amount of calcium will remain loose and workable. Calcium is the major transporter of other mineral nutrients, including sugars. An atom of magnesium is the center of each molecule of chlorophyll that plants use to convert sunlight into food and fiber. The calcium to magnesium ratio should be about 7:1 by weight in most soils. Magnesium and calcium are necessary for proper nerve and muscle functions in animals. Potassium is a powerful growth stimulant for plants and is needed in large quantities by animals too, but unfortunately it is often overused. Large amounts of potassium will encourage lush growth, but plants will be weak. Note that you never need more than 5% base saturation of potassium. Sodium is an essential nutrient for plants and animals, and one that is frequently in short supply in high rainfall areas. Hydrogen in the soil is not considered a nutrient, it is more of a placeholder. Plant roots and soil microorganisms exchange hydrogen for nutrient cations. The higher levels of exchangeable hydrogen, the more acid the soil. Now, there are a lot of other minor elements in soil that people aren't aware of. There's things like boron. It's needed in tiny amounts for animals to properly utilize calcium. If you ever talk to somebody that's worked with hydroponics, you'll probably hear at some point the term nutrient lockout. This is where the minor elements are not in proper balance. Now, I'm thinking about deliberately imbalancing these elements to try and enhance the ability to collect electrical energy. So that's going to be an interesting experiment.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on with that because, like I said, man, nature is always going to try to balance out energy. It balances out water. Like water will always find its level. And for those folks out there that don't understand what I'm talking about, get you a clear see-through hose and put you some water in there and raise and lower your right hand and your left hand holding the water inside the hose, and you'll notice that no matter what you do, the water will always level itself out. You can literally stand in any place and you can have that hose and your one arm as high as you can reach in the air and the other hand down lower, and the water level will match itself out every single time. And so with that said, electricity is the same way. Nature will always try to balance it out. It will try to even out the electricity. So if you have something that is larger and something that's smaller, you'll be able to use the differences between the two to basically produce energy. What do you think, Steve?
Oh, most definitely. Well, I did a little experiment this week because we've had a lot of sunshine. We're currently in a heat wave. Usually the Irish summers are about 15 to 20 degrees centigrade when you have a good day, but it's been up to 30 degrees.
Yeah, the sun came up in the northeast this morning.
The northeast?
Yeah, my side of the world.
Well, that's a bit strange.
Yep.
Well, there's something going on they're not telling us about.
It's making an arc around from the northeast to the northwest. And so we're actually in a bit of a heat wave ourselves.
I don't know what to do. But the experiment I did is, it was about the CO2 thing. They're claiming CO2 drives temperature. So what I got is I got two 2-litre bottles, filled each one with 1 litre of water. One was just plain water. The other one was full of yeast and sugar. Now I left this to ferment for about 3 days until I could see that the bottle had swollen. That means there's a lot of pressure in there from the CO2 that the yeast gives off when it feeds on sugar. And I put both out in direct sunlight for the entire day. There was no difference in temperature between the two bottles.
Cool.
Now, you would think that if CO2 is driving temperature, then it would make the water hotter, but it's not.
Well, you know, I'm one of the climate change deniers. I'm probably the king of the climate change deniers, because I've been yelling about this ever since well over 20 years when they first started the whole global warming / climate change issue, and I said the simple science doesn't add up to what it is that they're saying. But that's all neither here nor there. Let them worry about all the CO2 and the global warming, because like I said before, man, nature is more powerful than we will ever be. And if we piss nature off, guess what? We're going to get an ass kicking.
Well, I mean, people arguing about CO2 really is like two fleas fighting on the dog's back, and if they cause too much of a ruckus, the dog has a good scratch.
Yeah, and then it's off, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I really do not fancy Mother Earth having a good scratch on top of where I live.
I don't either. But when I was talking about the water level inside there, nature balances itself out no matter what. I mean, nature is just amazing scale. I mean, balances everything out.
Even the difference between nutrient film techniques, where you have, say, a 3-inch piece of plastic tubing, that you have a small trickle of water that runs down to feed nutrients to the plants. The water temperature on that can change rapidly over a very short period of time. But if you have deep water culture systems, where you have large masses of water, it's very, very difficult to change the temperature on that.
Yep, it balances itself out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why, like, if you stick a glass of water out in your room, it's going to eventually heat up to room temperature. Nature balances itself out. And so, with that said, like you were talking about earlier, throwing things off of balance, they have to balance themselves out. And so you could literally create a seesaw effect where one side was balanced and the other side ain't, and it's going to keep on working its way back and forth until it balances itself out. And in the midst of that, you reclaim some of that energy used in the process. Am I wrong?
Well, that was the general theory. If I put, say, sulfur at one end, or well, probably not sulfur because that is a bit toxic and I don't really want that in the soil. But if I use phosphorus, for instance, on one end, and I use calcium or magnesium on the other, which are two easy elements to get hold of, is it going to cause an imbalance that's going to create a higher electrical conductivity?
Well, it's just like the copper-coated ground rod and the zinc ground rod. Both of them are different, and so in the soil, with the chemistry in the soil, nature's trying to balance it out in the process. You actually claim energy, and so that's basically how that works.
So if we've got something like a zinc rod, and we put something that negatively reacts with zinc, and then you've got, say, a copper rod at the other end, and we put something that negatively reacts with copper, I would like to see how much energy that can produce.
Well, the easiest way I can tell you how to check it out is go out and get you a galvanized nail, and go out and get you a steel nail or a little copper rod, and pound them into the ground, and then stick your voltmeter on there and watch. You'll see that it's producing a voltage there. And then you put a capacitor in between there. You can literally watch as it charges that capacitor.
Well, here's a little bit of trivia for you. I found it quite interesting that in the core of our blood we have an iron molecule, but in the core of sap in plants, like their version of blood, they have magnesium, but it's pretty much the same thing with a different core.
Well, once you get magnesium burning, that's a hot flame, brother.
I know. But it's all about, testing, trial and error. If you want to go by the laws of physics and believe what they're telling us, then, well, you're never really going to get anywhere. But if you're prepared to fiddle around and experiment with stuff,
yeah,
you might find something interesting.
Here's a simple way to do it. Take your voltmeter out and touch it on everything under the sun. Touch it on metal. Touch it in the dirt. Touch it in everything and see where you get the highest voltage. And you'll notice that just about everything you touch, including if you hold one of the leads in one hand and one of the leads in the other hand, you'll see that you yourself are actually producing energy.
Well, just to say that, I've got a bag of organic soil just sitting next to me here. I'm going to shove my multimeter in it and see what the resistance is. And I should be
We got an experiment happening live here on Shazziz Mad Science. Simply Steve is getting out the voltmeter and some dirt. Where you at, brother?
Right. I'm just plugging it in. Right, the electrical resistance is 634. Oh, 2000. Oh dear. On 2000K, looking at electrical resistance, it's given a reading of 1,646, 71, 72, about 1,600 at 2000K on the multimeter.
Now, do you have a paper clip anywhere nearby you? Or a piece of metal?
Yeah, I've got some copper wire.
All right, shove a piece of that copper wire down in there and try it again.
1 sec.
All right, this is live. You are visualizing Virtual Labs live as we got one man in Ireland and one man in the United States of America, and we are doing experiments live here on Shazziz Mad Science.
And this soil isn't very wet either. There's not a huge amount of water in it. So I'd say if I put water in it,
you'll get more.
yeah, it's gone up to about 1,900.
See? Ah! And we're talking
I don't
about
know what that means.
We're talking about out of dirt. Out of dirt. You can make saltwater batteries, you can make lemon batteries, you can make onion batteries, potato batteries, you can make batteries out of anything because everything has energy in it.
Right, let's just test the voltage on it. We'll see what sort of voltage is coming out of mostly dry dirt.
What you got?
Oh, now that is mad.
Huh. What you got?
It's still going up. It's 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Jesus.
I rest my case. Now throw a capacitor in there and charge that capacitor.
That's 33 millivolts.
That's right.
35, 36. It's still going up.
Yep. And that's just out of dirt. That's just out of dirt.
Let me trickle a little bit of water on it.
There you go.
We'll see exactly what happens. Because I've been fiddling around with this stuff for a little bit.
So while he's
Mad Science Live.
While he's trickling a little bit of water on there, and if you got some like lemon juice, throw that on there afterwards. Any citric acid would work. So we're sitting here telling you how you
I don't
can.
think the plants would like citric acid very much.
No, they definitely probably wouldn't. But as far as experimenting, it's all in the name of science. Just don't electrocute yourself.
Whoa. Now we're up to 90.
See?
84, 80, 79. It's skipping up and down.
Yeah.
On the 200 millivolt maximum reading.
Throw some salt in there.
80.
Throw
80 millivolts.
Throw a dash of salt in there with that water.
And that's literally a cheap multimeter from Maplin's. It cost me 30 quid. And I'm using a organic soil with a mixture of perlite and bat guano.
Bat doo-doo?
Is around about 85 milliamps.
Man.
So you stick two rods, positive and negative charging rod in it, hook it up to a capacitor or even a battery.
You got a penny and a nickel?
You can charge. But I mean that's only volts. It doesn't. I'm
Do
not
you
amp reader on this.
do you have a do you have a penny and a nickel?
No, not the copper.
Or
Not the.
just two separate coins?
Yeah, I can find them.
Shove them down in there and then test it again.
Money, money, money.
We're going to get electricity out of money, out of chump change. Make your money power your house. Man, you got to shake the piggy bank, brother.
Right, I have a rechargeable nickel metal hydride battery, just as like a test, because I know exactly what the output of that is. I have a 10-cent coin and I have a 2-cent coin.
All right,
one's
plug them
brown,
in.
one's
Plug them in.
goldish colour. I'm not quite sure what materials they're made out of, but now let's see what the reading on that is.
There's enough difference between them two coins should give you something.
Now they're just poked into the top of the dirt. Now that's interesting. Oh, it's still going up, still going up. It's 50, it's running at about 50 off.
Ah,
So it's actually producing significantly less.
yeah, because you got resistance going on now.
Yeah. Now just to test it, this is a 1.5 volt battery, just to make sure that my multimeter isn't banjaxed. Yeah, that's giving me 1.5. So the multimeter is accurate.
There you go. Hey, brother, I'm going to throw on a quick tune, and you set up your next experiment. Try a little bit of salt with some water, and then tell me what you get out of that. Same dirt and everything.
I'm not putting that in my plants, because I love nature more than I love science.
Well,
I'm
scuff,
putting something else.
scuff out some dirt and put it in a separate container then.
Yeah, I'll get on it.
All right, I'll throw on a quick tune here, and then we'll take a quick break while you set up your next mad science experiment. Right there from Simply Steve's Lab. Do-do-do-do-do-do. I'm sitting there trying to find. There it is, right here. Okay, we were talking about light earlier, so this is a good tune. Okay, what you got going on, brother?
Can you see the webcam there?
Let me see here. Yep, I can see it. I can see the webcam.
Right. I have a glass jar which is sterile with 1/4 of a lime in it.
Cool.
I have another glass jar which is sterile with 2 tablespoons of salt in it.
Cool.
I have tap water,
Tap water.
which does include fluoride, and I have a big container here full of organic soil.
Dirt.
So, how are we going to do this? What would you suggest would be the best way to experiment with it?
Well, I would say first sprinkle the salt on one side of it and pour a little water over the top. There you go, salt and water. Mix it up first. That's enough.
Okay. And then a drop on the lime as well, yeah?
Yeah, you might want to squeeze the lime first to get some of the juice loose in it.
Good plan, yeah.
Just smush it real good. Now you got some citric acid down in there. Now you could either use that straight or you can mix a tiny dash of water with it.
For my Corona.
So, you know, worst case scenario, you got a salty lemonade.
Right, okay. Now, we're putting a bit of soil on top, eh?
Yep.
Right, this is a product from an organic soil producer, substrate producer called Playground. It's produced in Holland and is very carefully balanced. This is almost, it's what they call a potting soil. Not for certain types of pot, it's for actually growing seeds in it.
All right, now stick your voltmeter down in there and tell me what you got, man.
Give it a bit of a shake up first. Get it nice and wet. Okay. Now, let's put it on milliamps. And there's the positive and negative going in.
Whoa! 125, 128, 130, 130 milliamps, 131.
So that's running around roughly 100 or so.
Now turn on volts.
Voltmeter burnt out when I tried to connect it up to a 12 volt battery. It's only Sorry, that is volts. Amps doesn't work.
Okay. Well, then plug it in again.
Sorry about that. I actually burnt the fuse in it, being clever. Right, so we're at 0. We'll stick it in again.
You're up to 33.9 volts. 32, 34, it's fluctuating.
Yeah.
Right on. You actually hit 42 there for a second. 75. So now throw a little bit of the citric acid on there.
Do we want to try testing the citric acid first?
Yeah, try it just by itself.
Okay.
You're up to 21, 27, 48, 65, 77, 76. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's going up and down, but it's hitting some quite high peaks.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Now, we'll mix the citric acid into the soil with the salt. Now, just to explain to people that can't see the webcam, I'm using small little glass jars, yogurt pots. They're about 100 millilitres. So that gives them an idea of what sort of scale we're working on here. Right, we'll wait for that to go back to 0.
25, 59, 51, 37. It's going up and down. It's fluctuating. So with that said, we just proven you can get energy out of dirt, lemons, and salt.
It's in the milliamp millivolt ranges, but at the same point.
But either way, you know, even that, you know, even every car battery has a cell in it. If you got a 12-volt battery, you got several cells in it in order to add up to that 12-volt battery. So with that said, if you're making an earth battery, you run them all in series, and it's like stacking 1.5-volt batteries together. And so if you need to charge something up, you can get it right out of the dirt. Wow,
that's now stabilized at 35.4 millivolts. Yeah, millivolts.
So you definitely have movement. All right, folks,
So,
we're down to the last 7 minutes of the show, Steve.
Well, I'll tell you what I was thinking is, with my little camper van, my recreational vehicle, what's to stop me when I get to a campsite, banging in a couple of poles into the ground and using it as a trickle charge for my battery system?
Absolutely nothing at all, man.
Practical solutions from Shazziz's Mad Science Lab.
So let's do experiments and keep them all rolling. Right now we're down to the last, well, I said 7 minutes ago, but it's 9:53 my time, so we're about down to the last 7 minutes. Anyway, you got any last words to tell everybody before we burn up out of here? And for everybody out there, Beverly had to go to a funeral this morning, so I'm going to be taking her show for a while.
Mostly, if you don't try, you'll never find out.
That's right. If you take your voltmeter around, start plugging it in everything under the sun, don't blow it up like Steve did. You still there? You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Oh, on my T-shirt, this was given to me by my Australian relatives. Everybody is entitled to my opinion.
That's right. Everybody's entitled to Steve's opinion and my opinion. And my uncle used to say opinions are like, well, I better not say that over here. Everyone's got one and they all stink. All right, Steve, thanks again, man. You heard some live experiments coming from Simply Steve and Shazziz and the Mad Science Lab and in Ireland. And so with that said, we're going to have virtual labs up and running sometime soon. And Steve's working on some of that parts, and everybody else is trying to pitch in. And we got a lot of things going on. And hopefully we'll get it all together. And just remember to always believe in yourself and don't never underestimate yourself. With that said, there's a whole lot of technology out there that's been suppressed from us, and we're unlocking it, and we're putting this information out to everybody under the sun. And so I'm going to play a bit of a tune that Just kind of talks about the way life is with the difference between good and evil. So you got any last words, Steve? I think he bailed on us.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. He is short and sweet. All right, peace and love, everybody. Here's a good tune that I like.